And to our top story, a promise to work toward the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. That's the outcome of today's historic summit between Donald Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. And this is the handshake the world was waiting to see. The two leaders met behind closed doors for about 45 minutes before signing the document aimed at improving relations between the two countries, as well as nuclear disarmament of the Korean peninsula. But the letter is pretty generic. It is short on specifics. And Trump critics are quick to point this out and point out that it just legitimizes the North Korean dictator and his regime. Now, another first today, Kim Jong-un facing international media, telling reporters through a translator it is time to bury the past.
The past worked as fetters on our limbs, and the old prejudices and practices worked as obstacles on our way forward, but we overcame all of them, and we are here today.
That's true.
Now, of course, there are still a number of questions. For one, what does North Korea want in return for scrapping the nuclear program that they worked so hard to build? It wasn't all that long ago that Trump and Kim exchanged threats, you may remember. Now, the U.S. imposed tough sanctions while North Korea fired missiles in the peninsula, angering the international community. So, of course, we'll continue to follow developments on this throughout the morning. Let's move along now to some local news. There's still no word on a cause of a fire that has completely destroyed a home in Markham. Have a look.
Look at the roof, bro. The roof is just, oh my God.
I can feel the heat from here.
Yeah, I'm getting like
this is Larkin.
over here. We're across the street.
Now, the blaze started around 8 o'clock last night on Larkin Avenue in the 16th and 9th line neighborhood. And because of the extensive damage, structural engineers will have to determine if it's safe to go into that home. Right now, no reports of any injuries. But at the moment, a thorough search of the structure has not been completed. Police looking for the driver of a pickup truck involved in a hit and run that killed a 50-year-old woman. Emergency crews called to Dufferin Street and Briar Hill Avenue near Eglinton Avenue West around 3 yesterday. The woman suffering life-threatening injuries. She was taken to hospital where she later died. The driver and the vehicle involved fleeing the scene. Witnesses report seeing a silver Ford F-150 being driven by a white male in his 30s wearing a construction vest. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Well, the city's Public Works Committee is to debate a proposal today to introduce photo radar in and around school zones to get drivers to slow down. The calls for photo radar to be introduced come months after tragic deaths of 2 school children struck and killed as they walked home after class. If it's passed, the city hopes to have the radar up and running as early as next year. But first, the province would have to allow the city to introduce the technology. The city's chair of Public Works dismissing criticism photo radar as just a cash grab. Let's get over to our Tammy Sutherland, who is live now outside of Lord Dufferin School. And this should be an interesting conversation, Tammy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because the city has already taken so many measures to try to calm traffic in school zones, and it doesn't seem to be working. And the person who would know that, of course, Constable Clint Stibbe. So photo radar is a possibility. It looks like it likely will be coming to school zones. When it comes to trying to get people to slow down, what are you seeing in school zones in terms of speed?
Well, everybody thinks speed has to be something over the posted limit. The reality is when you involve a child, 30 kilometers per hour is basically deadly even for a child. Most of the studies have been done on adults being struck at 30 kilometers per hour where they have a 90% chance of surviving, and by about 50, there's about 90% chance of actually dying as a result of being struck by a motor vehicle. But you put a child into the mix, those rules don't apply, or those estimates don't apply. So it really boils down to the community understanding that driving through a school zone, you have to be aware of what's happening, and you have to reduce your speed even below the posted limits so that should something happen, a child step out from between a car, run out to catch a ball, whatever the case may be, that they're not actually struck by the vehicle, because if they are, the injuries are just going to be catastrophic.
All right. Thank you very much, Constable Clint Stibbe, again from Toronto Police Services. And again, that photo radar motion is going to the city's Public Works Committee today. And later on this morning here on BT at about 7 o'clock, we'll be speaking to the chair of Public Works, that's Councillor Jay Robinson, about this motion to bring photo radar back to school zones. Mel, I'll send it back to you.